The people that, now this was true.
I told you we weren't polite. You weren't listening. All right, speaking of Canada, let's have a look.
And more breaking news as the trade war between the U.S. and Canada shows no signs of letting up. Two government sources say new Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is expected to ask to dissolve Parliament this Sunday and call for federal elections on April 28th. Now, earlier this month, Carney was elected leader of the country's Liberal Party and took over as prime minister when Justin Trudeau stepped down after low poll numbers and a cabinet revolt. That has not stopped President Trump from attacking Trudeau. This is what he said last night.
One of the nastiest countries to deal with is Canada. The people that, now this was Trudeau.
I told you we weren't polite. You weren't listening.
The people that good old Justin, I call him Governor Trudeau.
By the way, we learned from the United States. What we know now, at least 50% of it we got from the United States.
His people were nasty.
President Trump last night. Now, earlier this month.
I personally don't believe him. Like, he's obviously lying, but he's okay. He's lying, but the fact that if anybody has in their mind, oh, Canada, these dumb idiots, they just do whatever we say, that is not the case.
Down, Trudeau said this at a press conference.
You've been misled.
Canadians are hurt. Canadians are angry. We're going to choose to not go on vacation in Florida or Old Orchard Beach or wherever.
He said this a while back.
And that's happening. Our Randy Kay went to Maine's Old Orchard Beach, and this is her report.
This has been a family business for 50 years. You got to take into the fact how the Canadians perceive this, and they are incredibly pissed off.
We met Sterling Morse in Old Orchard Beach, Maine. He owns the Point of View Inn, which is only about 150 miles from the Canadian border.
We have been here.
He says the majority of his regular customers are French Canadians.
Very traditional people, families that take the same room, the same dates every year.
Not this year. Sterling says most of his Canadian customers have canceled,
I
fed
wouldn't
up
know,
with
Neil.
President Donald Trump's antagonistic rhetoric toward Canada. There's the threat of tariffs, too.
It looks nice. Well, it looks nice. Looks like an average lake in Ontario.
And lately, Trump has suggested redrawing the border between the two countries.
It's affecting at least 90% of my business.
Probably some good fishing there.
Are you saying you've had 90% of your business canceled this year?
Easily.
Point of View Inn?
During our visit,
I said it looks like a lake. I realize it's the ocean.
Another Canadian called to cancel.
Listen, monsieur, you don't need to explain anymore.
This is every registration card from last year. This,
bro, lakes produce waves also. It's not just the ocean that
is the Canadian.
All right, that's not the point. Doesn't matter.
That's my American. This just went away.
That's all you got now. That doesn't pay the bills.
Does not.
Best of my ability.
For Sterling Morse, it all snowballed shortly after Donald Trump's inauguration.
All of a sudden, an email pops up. It's almost like, your phone, ding, ding, slow ding. The people that have been here for 35.
You've never seen a lake have waves? I don't know what to tell you.
40 years. You recognize that number. And it's like, I know why they're calling. And the anger is, in my eyes, incredibly justified.
Here in Old Orchard Beach, roughly 40% of the tourists come from Canada, according to the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber's executive director told us that those tourists make up about 30 to 40% of the revenue for many of the businesses here.
I think we're still kind of seeing how many different industries this impacts. It doesn't just impact tourism, of course.
Over at the Alouette Beach Resort, owner Fred Kennedy hasn't seen a cancellation yet, but he's heard an earful from his Canadian customers.
What are they telling you?
Well, their feelings are basically hurt. They don't like to be referred to as the 51st state, and they feel that they just want to express themselves and in sort of a nationalistic way. As a innkeeper, hotelier, I'm concerned with losing any guests. I'm sort of cautiously optimistic that things will resolve themselves as time goes on.
Old Orchard Beach is a seasonal town, so businesses have about 12 to 15 weeks to make their money for the entire year. Back at the Point of View Inn, Sterling Morse doesn't see any way he can make up that lost revenue this season.
You got to start thinking about the end game. The end game of 50 years of tradition, to be honest, yeah.
Like you would consider Closing down, selling?
There may be no choice.
Sterling Morse, the inn owner who says he lost 90% of his business, went to school in Montreal and feels a real kinship with Canadians. He told me that their anger is justified and he appreciates their renewed sense of nationalism. He also told me that he has tried to convince some of them to change their minds and to come anyway, but he says they are standing firm with Canada. Randy Kay, CNN, Portland, Maine.
I don't know, man. Well, honestly, it's just sad. You know, unironically, I think this is exactly what his end game is, you know, to cause discourse and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm not really like that sympathetic to that man's business. I think he's gonna be fine. But if these guys are not going like out of spite, I don't think that that's a reason not to go. If anything, it might be better now because it's less crowded and stuff like that. Might be a good time. Who knows? I don't know.